It's February 21st, 2022. This is Roqe. They are Iranian-Canadian siblings who are both accomplished musicians and artists and formed the band Rhythm and Vibes a few years ago. Now Sara and Nima Ahmadieh are working on new material, and they're here live in the Roqe Studio for a chat and performances. But first, he's an Iranian tech genius and the winner of the 2022 Marconi Prize, often referred to as the Nobel Prize for Communications. Siavash Alamouti was expelled from Sharif University after the revolution, fled Iran as a political refugee, and went on to become a major innovator in the tech sector who has invented a component of the smartphone that is in your pocket. He's coming up. This is Conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora. I'm Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 168 of Roqe. Hope you're keeping well. Wherever you're tuning in from around the world, hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Justan Aziz, Durud Bashama. Hello, the fabulous Keon.
Hi, Jian.
Hello, Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
Hello, sir. Hello, Groovy Shaya.
Hi, Aziza.
The contrast.
Match the energy. Hello, Shaya.
Hi, Aziza.
By the way, Keon walked in and she was like, yeah, I look like a homeless person today. Her version of homeless, it's like it's because you're wearing a sweatsuit.
I'm wearing
like,
sweats with a cap.
Yeah, but it's immaculate. Everything is perfect.
What part?
You look like you're in a catalog.
I look like I haven't showered in days.
No, I'm offended. I'm genuinely offended. You know why? Because I thought I dressed very nice today, and I look exactly like Keon.
Actually, we're color coordinated, but Reza actually looks put together.
Yeah.
Siavash Alamouti, the inventor of the Alamouti code.
No.
Like he's got a code named after him. Which is, I can't really explain what it is. I don't totally understand. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to ask him. I mean,
someone's done his research.
I tried. I watched a lot of videos. I read all the articles. I mean, it's something to do with facilitating the use of making the smartphones faster.
Oh.
He invented this thing that and easier to use. I have no idea what I'm But anyway, think about it. All the billions of smartphones that are, he's the guy who, there's some component in them that he invented. So and then he went on to become an executive at Wells Fargo and Vodafone. He was like a young guy when he invented this. It was like late 90s. Co-founder of Mimic. So now he's got this Marconi Prize, which is, from what I understand, the biggest prize you can get in communications and tech. And he's still a disruptor. Like he's making the case for the decentralization of the internet.
Ooh.
Huh.
You would like that, Reza?
I would like that, yeah.
After your trip to Florida, now that you believe in freedom?
Decentralization of internet would be my next on my agenda.
Yes, exactly.
But no. Wasn't Marconi an inventor himself? What did he invent?
Yes, very good. What did he invent?
Yeah,
Reza knows stuff.
What did he invent? Tell me. Guess what he invented. It has to do with exactly what we're doing right now.
Telephone.
Are we on the we're not on the phone right now.
Electricity?
Microphone.
Microphone.
He did not invent electricity.
Ferrari?
That's right. The radio.
Oh, Marconi invented the radio.
That's right.
There
you
he was
go.
Italian, wasn't he?
French, maybe?
No, he's Italian.
He's
but,
Italian.
his name is Marconi. I mean,
Yeah.
now Reza's
That's
like,
actually true. That's not much of a
he's
giveaway.
Italian. He's just
That's
guessing
not much of a
things.
giveaway. No, I remember.
I think he invented radio.
I think.
You're making me doubt myself.
Well, I'm gonna Google it right now.
Google it right now.
Hey Siri, who invented the radio?
The answer I found is Guglielmo Marconi.
There you go.
Oh, hey. Okay, thank you, Siri.
You win Jeopardy.
So I win Jeopardy.
Oh, yeah,
anyway,
that's
so
right, you got it.
right, so he won the mark. Anyway, Siavash Alamouti joining us in a few moments, and then later in the show, Sara and Nima Ahmadieh. You may know them from the band that they front. They're 2/3 of the band Rhythm and Vibes. Shall I play a little bit of Rhythm and Vibes?
Okay.
They're going to be okay. That's Sara. And that's Faraz Aslani.
I was gonna say.
Now that's Nima. I love her voice. So this is a recording from, I guess, 2016. Oh, here's the chorus. Sorry, I don't want to step on the chorus. All right. That's Sara and Nima Ahmadieh, Rhythm and Vibes. So they're going to be here live in the studio.
Awesome.
In about 45 minutes, an hour, performing.
Can't wait to hear it perform. 45 minutes.
Do you get excited when you see Reza doing that little dance that he does?
No, I look away because it just hurts my eyes. I can't.
Is it because I'm color coordinated with you? You don't want to look at yourself in the mirror?
No, I just don't
Self-hate?
like to look at you in general.
No, but I like their song. It's so soothing, and I can't wait to hear them perform live. It's awesome.
Yeah, they've got a really interesting story too. They came from Iran separately.
Wow.
They're siblings, right? For sure, what I talk to them about is how they seem to get along so well, both as bandmates and as you know,
Siblings.
family. I mean, it's amazing. They've got each other's back. They really seem to dig working together. It's a really interesting story. All right, so Rhythm and Vibes coming up later in the show. Siavash Alamouti in just a little bit. I wanted to let everybody know that we have an updated website. And big props to talented Anahita and Ponce the Artist who've been working on this for a while. And it's just great. It's like Netflix kind of, you know.
Yeah, it's really
you
cool.
just scroll through, you can see all the episodes and the different shows and different programs. So roqemedia.com. Have you looked at it, Keon?
Of course I have. It's very
afraid
sleek.
to ask you.
It's sleek.
You've even seen the website
I
features all the episodes of Unmarried Persian Girls as well there. It's got all of it there. roqemedia.com. And if you go to roqemedia.com, you can become a patron of our program. And so you just go to the button that says, there's two buttons. One says About Us, which you can read about us, and the other one says Support Us. And if you press on that, you can become a patron. And you know, if you've been listening to this podcast or this network, or you know, in the last few weeks or months, or even for, you know, it's been a year and a half, almost 2 years since we started, and certainly if you do so regularly and you really like it, it really helps us out for you to become a patron. You can choose $5, $10, or $25 a month. And it's a lifeline for us, so we love you when you become patrons. And all you got to do is go to roqemedia.com and press Support Us. Right, Reza?
That's exactly right. And it's kind of like Netflix. You know, you pay a membership fee for Netflix and you never watch it. You only spend 5 hours a night scrolling through Netflix trying to find something.
That's right. We've created the conditions where you don't have to listen to us. You can just scroll through now and try and decide and waste your time trying to decide which episode you want to listen to.
Yes.
And then move on.
No, but highly recommend go checking it out. At least take a look at the new version. It's really cool.
Yeah, and really it is a cultural mission we're on, and so we love any kind of support that you can give us. And to become a patron, roqemedia.com. Okay, I have an announcement to make about a big guest that we've got coming up on this program.
Drum roll.
Shia.
Yes.
The guest is Shia. Shia will be. This is we have been working on this for, I'd say, a few months. I mean, he was always on our board from the beginning of when we launched Roqe, because I know I think all of us are huge fans. I'm certainly I just couldn't say more about this guy in terms of, I think, along with maybe Humayun Shajarian, he's probably the best voice.
No doubt.
Oh, you think no doubt?
Yeah.
His voice is the best.
Yes.
In Iranian music.
Yeah.
So in the coming days on Roqe, Ali Reza Qurbani is going to join us for a feature. And I don't think he's done very many interviews in English. I think this is one of those where we're going to talk in Persian and in English.
I never watched anything in English, actually.
He's in Tehran, so he's going to do the interview from Tehran. Anyway, it's a great honor. You know, I think 2 years ago, right before COVID, he did something like 45 nights in a row in Tehran. Like they just kept adding shows, sold out.
Nights.
Yeah. I mean, there's people. The appetite for Ali Reza Qurbani in Iran is just kept adding nights, and then they had to finally stop the run because COVID happened. You know, otherwise it just kept going. You know, so that's coming up in the coming days on Roqe, Ali Reza Qurbani, and around Nowruz time, which I guess is 3 weeks from now or something like that. We're going to debut a very special version of the Roqe theme with lyrics first of all, with lyrics. That's new.
Who wrote the lyrics?
That we'll have to let you know. With lyrics performed and recorded by a major artist in the Iranian music world.
Huh.
Any clue? We're going to drop that. And the clue is no
male,
clues.
female.
No.
Oh, come on.
That we're going to drop that on Nowruz, which I think is March 20th this year. Is the Persian New Year?
It's not the 21st?
No, it's the 20th. For on the English calendar or whatever, the real calendar.
The real calendar.
We're gonna get angry letters now.
I know.
Thanks a lot.
How dare you?
Why you say that? Why you say this is the real calendar? So on that day we're gonna drop a version of the Roqe, a new version of the Roqe theme,
amazing.
with lyrics performed and recorded by a major artist in the Iranian music world, and I can't wait for you guys to hear this.
Can you give a little bit of hint? Like what
little.
kind of music? Is it rock? Is it classical? Is it like sunnati? Like what are we
I
looking
don't want
at?
to give away too much.
Nothing?
Shia knows.
Give me a little bit, something.
No, wait.
Just wait?
Yeah, wait.
Ugh,
Yes.
you guys
But
suck.
it's really good.
It's really, really good.
Really?
It's really good.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
I'm just trying
It's
to imagine
really-
the lyrics right now.
Some
I know,
of
me
it,
too. Me too. Me
In
too.
a studio far away.
And if you become a patron of Roqe, you will hear that song.
Wait, is it in Persian?
Also, if you're not a patron. But
Is it in Persian? Or,
It is in
or,
Persian.
Okay,
It is in
okay,
Persian,
then I have
yeah.
no idea what the lyrics could be.
Roqe bash, آقا.
the major artist is Reza.
Great, we just lost about 100 subscribers. Thanks for that.
People are giving, trying to get their money back from it. They became patrons and now they're already canceling.
No, they don't sign up for that.
Do you have plans for Nowruz, Reza?
Actually, I'm quite excited about Nowruz this year because
Why
it's the
is
first Nowruz I'm celebrating with my parents after a very, very long time.
See, that
Yeah,
to me
so
is
it's nice.
Nowruz. That's
Yeah,
sweet.
to me, it's actually got a different vibe. Like regardless of the COVID, all of that, and I'm actually excited because I get to spend around half scene
With your parents.
with my parents.
That's so sweet,
That's
eh?
really sweet.
Never see that side of Reza.
Never,
Yeah.
ever.
It's just a one-dimensional guy. It's
Then
just
you realize it's usually
it's
like,
just a dick. That's it.
How can I make money from cannabis? You know?
I can't even imagine him with parents.
How can I make money off of my parents?
He has
I'm gonna
family?
do that. Yes, he was born.
That's really sweet. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
sweet.
it's
Well,
cute, yeah. And then I'm gonna send them to Iran because I've had enough. But
Seriously?
No,
I thought
I'm
they were
joking,
staying
I'm
here.
joking. No, they are.
well, they moved here, right?
They did, yeah.
And then
I
they're
moved
living with
them.
you.
Yeah, we moved in together because, they're newcomers to Canada. They don't know the language. They don't know anything. They don't know much. So, I decided to move in with them for the first 6 to a year and then help them.
And how
adjust and
is
stuff.
you left when you were 18?
Yeah.
Right? So how is reconvening and living with parents, Persian parents, after 20 years or 15 years?
Luckily, the good thing is that they were able to adjust to me much easier, and they were more flexible with giving me privacy. Giving me privacy, letting me like do my own thing, you know.
Do drugs in the kitchen.
But in the bathroom more so. Don't lock the door. Make sure my mom's calling me for dinner.
I found some of your cocaine in the... Reza Jun.
Okay.
You're using the opium again? No, it is not opium.
No, that I'm selling
powder he has.
Yeah, no, we're sharing. It's been pretty great being able to hang out and have fun with the family. But yeah, they were able to adjust to me much easier. And they were at first, obviously, they were like, you're getting to know new people. That's what it is at the end of the day.
With your parents, you mean?
Yeah, because it's like they stopped like my image in their minds stopped at the age of 18 essentially.
Right.
Everything else.
That's the thing. That's the thing about that's tough with Persian parents. Obviously, we talk about it a lot, even with our psychologists last week. I mean, we were talking about Persian parental pressure because, to a certain extent, I know, because to a certain extent, especially with Persian parents, I know this is universal, but they'll always think of you as this little boy.
Little boy.
So the fact that they're giving you this emancipated life that they've adjusted to you, as you say, is actually amazing.
It is really amazing. Yeah, they're very open-minded when it comes to things like that. But
drugs.
It's not poor guy. It's not. He's not even that.
I know.
I'm not even that.
I know. You don't even. It's not like you do cocaine every day.
Right? It's not like I'm selling it. But all jokes aside, it's been very interesting adjusting to one another. People that were your parents are your parents.
Right. People that were your parents. But also you have your mom making you food now.
Oh, that's amazing. To be honest, that's worth like everything.
Have you gained weight since?
A lot,
Okay,
I've gotten really. Jian the other day was like, you look like I don't want to say you're fat.
I did not say that.
No, you didn't. You didn't say.
What did I say?
You were like, you're more manly.
Husky.
You're like more like you're.
He's filled in. He's
filled in.
He's good in a good way.
Suratid Portion.
That's what
No, not
Joftade.
He just looks like he's like.
I'm getting older.
He doesn't look like a little boy. You know?
But you see, what's funny about that? Like, regardless of the space they're giving me, but there's still like little thing like the fact that I'm a kid to them still pops up. My mom goes, آخه نگاه کن بچه‌م موهاش سفید شد مامان بیا یه چیزی بهت بدم بخوری یه تخم مرغ your hair is gonna like be dark again like I'm like ma it's okay I'm getting older.
By the way, that's a thing that I don't understand. The thing in the Persian language that I never had in my family, but I've noticed with some Iranians more recently, or that they come from Iran, where the mom calls the son Maman, and you call her Maman, as everybody calls each other Maman. I don't know. I don't get it. I think it's lovely, but what does that mean?
I have no idea. It's just I've heard it all my life. It's just I don't think about it.
I think other cultures do it too, like Spanish people.
They
say,
do?
"Hi, mommy, come." Like they say, "Mommy." Yeah, that's true. They say
interesting. All right. Well, I'm sure somebody will write in and give us the answer.
Is it that interesting?
It is actually.
It is interesting to me. At first I thought it was weird. One of my cousins was doing it with their kid, Mama, and I was like, "Well, that's I
know. It is. I didn't find it weird until like now that Jian mentioned it. Actually,
like my mother never called me Maman, and I feel like I'm left out. Why didn't she call me mother? Why was I not mom? All right. Let's get to our guests. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in a little bit. Fabulous Keon, Captain Reza Guvishaya, Rhythm and Vibes, Sara and Nima Ahmadieh joining us in just a little while in the Roqe Studio. I know they're here, but let's get to our first guest. We often pride ourselves in the Iranian diaspora for having successful members of our community when it comes to the technology sector. And our featured guest today is a genuine tech star who's certainly on that list. Siavash Alamouti is an Iranian-Canadian technology genius, a business executive, an entrepreneur, and an electrical engineer. Siavash is most well known for the invention of the Alamouti Code in 1998, a technological advancement that has been adopted in almost all wireless standards globally and included in billions of wireless devices. Siavash was born in Tehran. He was a student at Sharif University of Technology in the early 80s Iran. He left as a political refugee, first to Spain and then to Canada, where he received his BA and master's degrees in electrical engineering from the University of British Columbia. Since then, he's been building a remarkable resume that has included Executive Vice President of Innovation R&D at Wells Fargo, R&D Director at Vodafone Group, and prestigious positions at Intel. He's the co-founder and executive chairman and former president and CEO of Mimic. And most recently, literally this month, Siavash has just been awarded the 2022 Marconi Prize for his technical, practical, entrepreneurial, and humanitarian work. This international award recognizes innovators who've made significant contributions to increasing digital inclusion through advanced information and communications technology. Right now, Siavash Alamouti joins me from Oakland, California today. Hello, sir.
Hi, Jian. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, it's been a great surprise to receive the award. I'm so honored, and I feel that after years of working together with a team of amazing partners, we have received this recognition, not only for my work, but the work of many, many people that I worked with in the last few years to get us to here.
I mean, first and foremost, congratulations. This Marconi Prize is often referred to as the Nobel Prize for Communications. Siavash, when did you first find out you'd been selected as this 2022 Marconi Fellow?
So that's a very interesting story, because I got an email from a friend of mine, a colleague, Andrew Goldschmidt, who's the dean of Princeton University. And she sent me an email and said, myself and Windsurf, and Windsurf, by the way, is known as one of the fathers of internet. We want to talk to you to get you involved in Marconi Society. And I thought, it seems like they need help for digital inclusion. They want me to be part of the society and help them out. And I said, oh, absolutely. I mean, in my entire life, my passion has been bringing digital inclusion, and there's no organization like Marconi Society that has had so many people that I've known all my life and read their books. Leonard Kleinrock. I said, of course I will participate. So we got on a Zoom call, and then Andrea told me, Siavash, we wanted to tell you that you've been selected as the Marconi Fellow. And then you will be receiving this award. And, tears came to my eyes, and, I was shocked, because receiving such an award, and I didn't know how this was kept from me, because this is something you have to obviously file an applications, hundreds of pages. People need to write the reference letters. Sometimes you find out, and I was clueless, and it was a big surprise.
It's amazing, and I think I have my answer to my next question when you said you had tears in your eyes. You are the first Canadian, let alone person who came to Canada as a political refugee, to receive this prestigious award. What does that mean to you?
I hold a Canadian citizenship and a U.S. citizenship, but Canada was really the country, and that's a story on its own. How I came here as a political refugee, but Canada, I've been always thankful to this country for accepting me as a refugee and giving me the opportunity to study at the university and all of that. So it was a big honor for me to be able to, as a Canadian, receive this award and bring some pride for Canada as well.
Yes. We will get into that story. I want to ask you a little bit about being a political refugee in a few minutes, but you've mentioned digital inclusion. In fact, the award, the Marconi Prize, mentions digital inclusion in terms of one of the factors that determine who gets this prize. What do we mean? I have a sense of it, but what do we mean when we say digital inclusion?
It means bringing internet to everyone, every child, woman, man across the world, include them in the digital world so that they have access to information and services coming through the internet. So right now we have another 2 billion, I don't know the statistics exactly right now, but 2 to 3 billion people that are still not connected. And in Marconi Society, we will definitely, one of our missions is to bring internet to everyone. And then, of course, make sure that internet becomes the source of information for most people. And we fight disinformation and propaganda through the channels.
I was going to say, 20 years ago, I would have thought everybody getting the internet is a great thing. Now I'm not so sure. Although I know it can be a lifeline, of course, but let me ask you about the internet in a few minutes and the ups and downs of it. One of the reasons you got this prize, if someone does any basic research on you, what you're most known for is the development of this Alamouti code. Now, which is also known as the space-time block code. I hesitate to ask you about this because I know tech folks like yourself sometimes explain things and leave us twisting in the wind. Right. But if you can do it in a simple manner, what is the Alamouti code?
So it's a simple concept, actually. It's when we communicate with each other. For instance, when I'm talking to you and you don't understand something, I repeat myself, right? Say, Jian, I repeat it twice, and then the chances of you understanding it goes up exponentially, sure. Correct? So probably the second time, if I repeat it 4 times, then definitely by that time you must have got it.
I'm going to get the message, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So this is called diversity. This is repeating it in time is diversity in time, and but you can in a radio channel you can repeat it through antennas that are separated from each other sufficiently, so that the signals are not correlated, and you can distinguish this. And the Alamouti code was a way of actually separating these signals so that you could receive it with better quality. The end result of it is that you could have much better reception quality using the code with reduced size. If you wanted to get that quality, for instance, you would have to put multiple receivers in a device. It's expensive. The size goes up and your battery consumption goes up. So in effect, the code makes wireless communication much more affordable in small sizes.
And when this Alamouti code has been used in, as I said in the introduction, in billions of wireless devices, I'm assuming this crosses brand names and companies. This is in the technology of almost all the kind of smartphones we use these days.
Absolutely, it's part of international standards. It's part of the 3GPP standard that started with 3G and has continued with 4G, 5G, and the code will go even into 6G. So because it's what is called an optimal code, you can't really do any better than that. Right?
It's just remarkable. It's remarkable. The weirdest thing too about it is that this code, the Alamouti code, has the same name. It's a strange similarity to your last name. I'm assuming that's clearly a coincidence, but
the reason it has my last name on it is because I invented it when I was at AT&T. At that time, I was fairly a young, with not a lot of experience, maybe 5 or 6 years of experience designing mobile data protocols. So I had to do it on my own. Then when I shared it with friends and colleagues, with researchers, they referred to the code with my name. That was the easiest way to say this was. So I wrote a paper, published it. I never called it Alamouti code or space-time code. The space-time code, in fact, was coined with my good friend Wahid Toro, who joined me about a year after I had invented the code to start expanding and trying to generalize the code to more antennas.
Just out of curiosity, I mean, you were, a young man at the time. You're still a young man, but even a younger man at the time. I'm curious how something like an idea like this comes to you. Is it like in the movies? Do you have like a eureka moment and you're in front of a chalkboard and there's all these scratches and you've come up with some sort of code, or does it come to you in your sleep, or are you sitting in a lab, or how did you have the foresight to develop this?
Right. Oh, it's this eureka thing is one of the fallacies of how innovation is done. It was really a lot of iteration and hard work. And they say necessity is the mother of innovation. At the time, I was working on a project at AT&T that was very, very challenging to meet the requirements. People had made some assumptions, and very early on, I realized that many of those assumptions were incorrect, and this project was going to fail. And it was my attempt to just staying up many nights thinking about this, worried that we were all going to lose our jobs. We had set a lot of expectations. It was a multi-billion-dollar project. And I started working the problem backwards. And I've been kind of trying to teach my team and others on this methodology of design, that you don't start with technology. You start with the end result that you want to get. So I started with the signal formats that I wanted to see at the end, and you started working the problem backwards, right? And then I reached at that code, and finally said, "Oh, this worked." That was the path to it.
You have something of a mantra, Siavash, where you say your passion has always been about what you can do with technology rather than the technology itself. Explain that. Is it to say that you're not really a tech nerd, you're more about how to harness new innovations for a larger purpose?
Oh, absolutely. It's always I wasn't that keen. In fact, if I had the opportunity, if my parents would have let me, I would have gone into arts and studied music. I always wanted to become a singer, rock and roll singer.
It's not too late. It's not too late.
And by the way, I love your past work. We can talk about that as well when you were at Maxi.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you're a fan of the band. You saw us when we did you come to the Vancouver Folk Festival? Where did you see it?
Yes, I saw you guys at the Vancouver Folk Festival. Yes, absolutely. I had a lot. It was a lot of fun. So we can talk about that.
The question. I distracted you after you distracted yourself. The question was about being passionate about what you can do with technology rather than the technology.
Yeah, exactly. It's always been that way. I grew up in a household. My father was Vice Minister of Energy. He was in charge of water resources in Iran. And despite his very important position, we had a fairly humble life. He was a very humble man, and he always said that he did the work to bring water to people. And I was taught from a young age that I should work for impact, and I think it was his influence that drove me throughout my life. I remember when he first came to Vancouver. At the time, I was at the University of British Columbia, and we went to visit a few friends, and he spoke French and English fluently. And they asked my father, said, so what do you do? What's your profession? And the fellow was a French Canadian, and he started speaking in French because he realized the French accent, and he said, well, I bring water to people. And the guy thought that he was, like in villages where people bring water.
Right.
So he said, how is it that you've learned both English and French when you were just a peasant or whatever,
Right.
bringing water to people? And I interjected and no, he was. he said he brings water to people because he was the vice minister of energy. He was the one that spearheaded nationalization of water in Iran. So
by the way,
it
it doesn't sound like that humble in existence. I mean, you guys weren't you're the vice minister of energy. I mean, that's a. But it's funny because I wanted to ask you about your past. I should say parenthetically, it's so interesting to hear you talk about your trajectory because so many times on this show, we'll talk to someone who, I lament the fact that there are so many potentially great creative folks or artists or architects or painters or musicians or writers, etc., who are through their middle or upper class Persian parents streamed into engineering or medicine or something, and we lose that kind of talent. And in your case, I think, wow, thank God your parents made you go into the sciences because you're a hero. I mean, this is as much as I'd love to hear you sing some Pink Floyd tunes. I mean, it's great. It's a great fortune that they forced you to go into this area. But you've said a big part of your mission, especially as an Iranian who experienced the revolution, is the struggle for freedom. And I want to come back to the concept of freedom. But let me just get some background. You've said that part of your story is being purged from Sharif University in 1980 in the aftermath of the revolution. Yeah. You were expelled. What happened?
So the Cultural Revolution happened. After the revolution, I was really supportive of the revolution because I thought that it will bring democracy to Iran. We were under what we call the dictatorship at the time. We didn't know what was going to happen with Khomeini coming to power, right? By the way, I'm proud to say that I never supported Khomeini. I never said Durud bar Khomeini or Allahu Akbar or those kinds of things. I was very left leaning at the time. Wanted democracy and freedom of speech and equality and social justice for the people. But when the revolution happened, there was a period of about a year, 2 years of absolute freedom because the new government hadn't taken hold. So people had started expressing themselves. There were thousands of publications and all of that. And when I went to university, I was very vocal. I said my opinions. I was an atheist. I said that I didn't believe in God. I wasn't a big fan of religion. I expressed that as well. And those all went into my file, and I got expelled as a result of it when the Cultural Revolution happened. The Cultural Revolution was basically Khomeini's and his cohorts' attempts of cleansing the universities from any kind of intellectual thought.
Wow.
So anybody that had any kind of progressive views that were not aligned with the government were expelled, right? So we put up a big fight. About 30 students got killed during that fight.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then thousands executed, as you know, afterwards.
Sure.
That's when I went underground. I wasn't even going home anymore.
How'd you get out? How did you get to Spain?
I got out through Pakistan, walking through mountains with 5 friends. Through Baluchistan.
Wow.
In 1982.
Wow. These stories they never cease to amaze me. That kids in the West are thinking about, what new car am I going to buy, or can I become a member of that tennis club? And in Iran, at least at that time, they're walking across the border trying to get to safety into Pakistan. How does a political refugee who lands in Canada in the 1980s become an executive at some of the biggest companies in the world just a few years later? What do you think it was in you that you skyrocketed seemingly so quickly?
Oh wow! It was kind of. It's really hard for me to kind of decipher the code to my existence, as they say, and how I ended up where I ended up. But always thought big. I was never interested in doing things that had a small impact, right? So when I came to Canada, I picked the best university. I went to UBC. I studied electrical engineering. And at the same time, during that time, I was also politically very active. If you recall, in the 80s, there was the rise of the Reform Party and the new Nazis and fascists in Canada.
Sure.
I was politically very active. I even got into media. We had a radio station, CFRO 102.7 co-op radio, Persian radio called Radio Pajwak, because I was helping other refugees integrate, and we were realizing that a lot of the refugees came with racist and homophobic, especially homophobic during the AIDS crisis. So we created that radio channel. And when I was in school and studying, I was thinking constantly about what am I going to do, and when I graduate, to have an impact. And that was the era that internet was being born, the mobile data protocols were being born. And I always thought that information and access to information was key to bringing social progress, right? So I put all my effort into it. I used the advice from my father to always do the right thing. Don't do anything for money or for appeasing other people. Just do things that you have a passion for and you love. And I just applied that. And I was lucky to be in certain situations that got me to grow really fast. For instance, being part of a team that built one of the first cellular mobile data protocols called CDPD. So I got engaged in that project. And that project was managed by McCaw Cellular. And Craig McCaw at the time was the Elon Musk of the time. And I was given the opportunity to go and work with them to work on the future wireless networks.
Hang on a second. When you say your father's advice, which I love, don't ever do anything just for money. How do you square the circle of that with working at the big kind of corporations that you've worked at an executive level? I mean, I'm assuming you can't go to the CEO of Vodafone and say, "Hey, man, I'm not really interested in making us money. I just, I mean, is that really? If you were to be Roqe, if you were to be honest about this, you've never done anything for money."
I've never done anything for money. I tell you, and that has always got me into trouble. If you look at my my career, you'll see that every few years I've had to leave a job because it got to a point that said money would become the priority, and not long-term impact, right? So but I also learned because during the time that I was at university and we were doing all of these protests, for instance, against Reform Party or the new Nazis and all of that, we would go and have protest after protest, and I didn't see an impact. I didn't see this really changing stuff. Then I kind of learned that I have to work within the system and change things from within. As an outsider, I can't be impactful. So I always looked at. I went to Intel, and by the way, when I was at Intel, Intel was amazing because they gave me all the support to create open standards to make access to internet affordable. Intel subsidized, for instance, Wi-Fi technology into laptops, and it was because of the people that were there. There were other people like me that they wanted the same things. They wanted open standards, they wanted affordable internet, and they were not there just for the money, right? Of course, we were all well rewarded, the jobs that paid well. But you can be paid well and still be highly impactful, right? So the thing is that the money, we wouldn't sell our souls for the money, but we obviously would get rewarded for the work that we did. So you can really balance that. It's not, you don't have to sell your soul to short-term gains of large corporations in order to be impactful.
Much of what you have done has been in the area of R&D, research and development. What have you learned about what the key is to effective research and development at any company?
It's really it's spending a lot of time on problem description and what is it that you want to do and what you want to achieve. A lot of the R&D work is technology driven, and that has been one of the big challenges in every organization that I've been, to convince other engineers, my team members, to start defining the problem, like layers of onion. And that's something that I learned not from other engineers, but from this fellow that I used to follow called Jiddu Krishnamurti, who was a philosopher.
Yeah.
Right? And I used to read everything he wrote in every speech that he had, because he, when you asked him a question, he started, expanding on it, and it's the simplest question, he would break it down to be able to provide answers to it, and that's key to research and development, is to define the objective, not focus on the technology, and then use any kind of technology as a tool to achieve the result. So if you want affordable connectivity, high data rate, you start with that and say, what do I have to do to get there? What should the phone cost? What should the cost of management of this thing be? And that requires a multidisciplinary approach. And that has got me into trouble. I mean, I remember when I was at AT&T, I was kicked out of a meeting. I was told that you're a scientist, but you're trying to be an MBA wannabe, because I was asking for access to the actual business model. So we can't share with you the business model.
Right. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Yeah. So that is, so you have to be multidisciplinary, and you have to start with the objective and work your problem backwards, and never fall in love with the tools that you have, right? And always think outside the box, because our knowledge is so limited. As much as we have progressed so much in technology, we know a small percentage of what is fact and reality, right? A lot of these things are theories, and you don't want to build on top of theories and make assumptions. You want to start always looking backwards and look outside the box and find new ways of solving problems. That really is key.
Do you have to be young? I mean, I'm not actually being facetious when I ask that. We have this image of the people who are at the forefront of new technology always being the young ones, right? Like in the proverbial Mark Zuckerberg, he's 18, and first year university students and creates Facebook or all of these type of hungry young minds who can think outside the box and then get sort of fat or sedated or satisfied in their thinking by the time they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s. Are younger minds more apt to be hungry and develop new ideas?
I think so, yeah. And the reason for that is that they haven't learned as much. In order to do really disruptive things, the most important thing is to unlearn what you've learned. And younger people have less unlearning to do, right? So their minds are much more, it's like a more of a what do you say, clean slate, or
Blank canvas.
so
Yeah.
blank canvas, right? So they have that advantage. If you can marry the young minds with the experience and the knowledge of the old, that are flexible, and that has been my kind of, I think, one of my greatest strengths is to be able to listen to the young mind and be flexible. So when they are right, to accept it, and when they're wrong, to lead them to the right direction. Right. That you require that humbleness to be able to do real disruptive things. Right.
It also kind of involves not respecting the rules that as you get older, you kind of have this deference to, right? Like if some 17-year-old now says to me, you should do interviews that are 30 seconds long, I would be like, what value does an interview that is just 30 seconds long have? But, if they start that 30-second show, maybe that's, becomes the new, normal, right? Or something.
Absolutely.
I said I wanted to come back to the concept of freedom.
Right.
Siavash, how do you define personal freedom?
Personal freedom to me is my ability to be able to learn and explore, and to be able to communicate what I've learned and explore and get feedback on it freely, right? And of course, then my choices in life that are completely relate to me as a person, my sexual orientation, my choice of food, my any choice that I make that only impacts me, I should be free to do that.
So how does technology intersect with the quest for freedom?
The technology, again, is a tool for me to be able to communicate, to be able to learn first and explore. Internet, I have the entire Library of Congress. I remember the days that I had to go to the library to search for information. Now I just put a keyword, and I can do tons of research.
And so that's freedom.
Learning,
and that's freedom.
To me, is part of freedom. The learning. For me to become free, I need to get to know myself and the environment that I'm in. Right. So the learning aspect, the exploring aspect, the tools that technology provides me to explore. Often we kind of work based on speculations and opinions. So when you have an opinion, you have a belief, you have. I always say you have. When my friends tell me, say, I believe something. I say, so what are you going to do with that belief? Because your belief may be a fact or may be a fallacy. So in order to reach to a conclusion, you have to understand whether your belief is a fact or a fallacy. In order to do that, you need to explore. The technology gives you the tools to explore. And then once you explore, you want to share and communicate that to everyone. Right? I've never been keen on keeping trade secrets for myself, And I remember a day before my father passed away when he had cancer. I was taking care of him, and I was on a call with a patent lawyer, and we were talking about patents, and he was overhearing the conversation. And after the call, says, Siavash, I know this patent stuff you guys are doing, but one thing, if you're not going to do something with your idea, share it. And if you think somebody else is going to be able to do a better job with your idea, share it. Because that's what's going to bring progress to the world. Never keep it, because the lawyer was saying that maybe we should keep this as a trade secret. Right?
I get the access part of it, obviously. I mean, obviously,
right.
that's amazing. The suddenly having access to information or the world at your fingertips, all of that. So, one of the parts that doesn't feel like freedom is that we are removed. We get farther and farther away from the source of how to actually do something, right? So, like, recently my garage opener broke, and it's this digital thing, you press a button from inside the house or whatever, and the garage door opens. and I couldn't open the garage door because the digital thing is broken, right? So here's technology has supposedly made this easier for me, and yet if that didn't exist, I would just go and lift the garage door, but it would lock, it wouldn't let me do that. So that for me feels like a kind of metaphor as to, how we go into this rabbit hole of technology and we get farther away from being able to do simple things for ourselves, right?
Right, but again, that's bad user experience. That was a bad design. So there should be, your garage door opener should have a manual.
It never has that. It has tech support and geek squads and whatever, and then you have to, wait until some spotty faced person comes that you're paying $100 an hour to figure out how to press the button. I mean, it's. But I know I'm niggling. I'm interested in this concept of what it means to be free. At the same time, you are known to be an advocate of decentralization. Now, I wanted to ask you about this because I'm not sure what it means. Decentralization of the internet. I mean, what does that mean? Isn't the whole point of the online space, even as you've just described it in terms of the freedom of of access, centralization, where we can find everything in one place and then yell at people on social media? What is the idea of decentralization?
Well, I mean, different people have different, obviously, definitions of decentralization. To me, decentralization, it means removing all unnecessary middlemen from processes to make services much more affordable and scalable. When you have middlemen, you increase latency. You increase additional costs. You make your services unaffordable. For instance, if you and I want to have a chat, there's no reason that my data needs to go to an Amazon server in a data center and then come back to you. So it's we should be able to talk directly and peer to peer. Right? If there's a robot that wants to talk to a manufacturing arm or to a factory worker, there's no reason that this needs to go to a data center in the cloud, right? And that's what decentralization means, right? Or if there is, for instance, financial transactions that can be done directly and a record of it still be kept for, I don't know, tax reasons and anti-money laundering and all of that, any kind of middleman in the process should be removed to make it faster and more affordable, right?
But isn't the cloud the safety valve? Isn't that our backup? Don't we take solace in knowing the cloud is there because that's where everything is stored somehow? I mean, do we like the cloud or we don't like the cloud?
Well, we like the cloud. We definitely like the cloud. We need some central entity where some of this information can be stored in a cheap way if we lose access. So that's why, for instance, on cloud decentralization, we talk about an hybrid edge cloud. And that hybrid exactly means that data centers working with the phones and the devices together. Not all server functionality should be delegated or relegated to cloud resources in the data center. It should be a combination of both. If I need to, for instance, store some of my content on very cheap storage on the cloud, fantastic. But if I want to communicate that, I should be able to have a copy of those things in my device so I can quickly share it with some friend and not have to go and download it back down. And that's what we call it.
Well, this sounds practical. It was logical. Who are the people who would oppose this kind of decentralization?
Oh, I think there's no longer that much resistance. There may be some business kind of objectives that some people may argue and want to, in a hidden way, stop it. But I think everybody agrees now. Now, edge has become the new, fad. When we started it, about 10, 12 years ago, we would go talk to venture capitalists and say, what the hell, what is edge? Data privacy, what is data privacy? Nobody cares about data privacy. People are sharing their cameras in their homes with everyone. You guys are smoking something. This is, you're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. But now, edge has become the new fad. And it's hyped. And now with blockchain, decentralization of cryptocurrency, decentralization of contracts, all of that has become very popular.
Final question to you on the conceptual side. And I hope I thank you so much. It gets my mind going to get to ask you these questions around freedom and decentralization. And I guess in the realm of freedom, you've said innovation can only truly flourish in open and democratic societies. And I think when I'm quoting you saying that, you were referencing Iran. But
yes.
Is this really an absolute maxim? I mean, has China not been good at innovation? Obviously many folks would not consider China either open or democratic. So what is the piece around innovation flourishing in democratic societies as opposed to closed ones?
Yeah, this was really mostly related to Iran. For innovation, when I say innovation, it means getting a new thing, a new technology from a concept to finding its way into the hands of the people, right? I'm not talking about ideas. Ideas can come from anywhere. It can be in Iran, it can be in China, but to make this idea, turn it to something pragmatic and practical and make it provided to everyone. It's such a arduous path. It's such a difficult path that if you don't have a democratic society that allows it to flourish and happen, it has very little chance of success. I'm never been a believer in absolutes. I don't say no innovation is going to come in, but innovation, for it to flourish, it has to be in a democratic society where all aspects from business, access to markets, access to capital, ability to provide something without censorship, ability to provide some. For instance, in Iran, if you want to do anything with communication, you have to go get approval from the Revolutionary Guards. Good luck bringing innovation in Iran, right? And you have to probably give bribes to 10 people before you get something through. It's hard enough without bribing people to get innovation through. And that's why things coming out of countries like Iran are copycats mostly, right? And innovation happens in the realm of art, but doesn't happen in the realm of science.
It is it's such a great pleasure to get to talk to you, and I must congratulate you again on your latest distinction. I mean, anybody who's listening to you speak will fully understand why you're winning these kinds of prizes and awards. Your experience is invaluable. The education of listening to you is energizing. A final question. I mean, after guiding the success of Mimic, the Mimic company, over the last few years as president, CEO, and you're now still, I know, chairing the board of directors, but I assume that you're not there day to day. What do you most want to focus on doing in the coming years?
So I'm still very, very active within Mimic, but it was in 2020, after a couple of years of studying blockchain and technology and decentralized finance, I decided to pay more attention to the business model of internet, because I think most of the problems that you pointed out to in terms of internet becoming the loudspeaker for disinformation and propaganda has got to do with the business model of internet. So I have been focused primarily on that in the last few years. There will be some interesting news. I've been working with very kind of reputable institutions such as Berkeley Hall School of Business to start looking at the business model of internet and find creative ways to disincentivize the spread of disinformation and provide the ability for people to be able to distinguish between opinions and beliefs and facts and actualities, right? And the current business model obviously is counter to that.
That's driven by disinformation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's a fundamental problem, and that has been my focus. And I think the key to this is the giving the control of personal data to the owners of the data, and providing a mechanism to remove the middleman and allow people to be able to monetize their data and information on their own. It's a big topic, and I've been working on this now for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think I have some really disruptive ideas around how to do this, and that's what I'm focused on right now, and putting a team together to initially do it in Mimic, and if we have to spin it out, if it's not in line with exactly the objectives of Mimic, then we spin it out if it's easier to launch a company. But that's what I've been working on.
You know what? Thank God you're still young, so you can think outside the box. It is a great pleasure. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. But Jian, I wanted to tell you about your the Maxi
Fruvis,
because I think you would be interested to know this, because
sure.
The King of Spain, when the King of Spain came out, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was 92, 93. When I was going to school, I had obviously immigrated from Spain, right?
Oh, right.
I come from Spain to Canada, right? And I started doing pizza delivery, right? So I absolutely...
So the lyrics spoke to you, the lyrics of my song. Just so that for people that know out there, the genius lyrics of the King of Spain, a song that we put out in 1993. It's once I was the King of Spain, now I work at the Pizza, right? So
once I was the King of Spain, now I eat humble pie. I used to sing that all the time, you know.
That's fantastic. And also so glad you went into technology after hearing you sing that back to me. That's great, man. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for taking the time, and I hope to see you before too long.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Siavash Alamouti, co-founder and executive chairman and former president and CEO of Mimic. He is the recipient of the 2022 Marconi Prize for his technical, practical, entrepreneurial, and humanitarian work. Siavash Alamouti joined us from Oakland, California today. Well, our next guests today are a dynamic Iranian-Canadian musical duo who just happen to be siblings as well. If you are in or familiar with the Persian music community here in Toronto, you will most likely have heard of or seen Sara and Nima Ahmadieh. They spawned from a creative family in Tehran where they grew up, and they each bring their artistic superpowers to their music. Nima is a very fine guitarist, songwriter, and digital composer who was fascinated by rock music from a young age. He learned to play guitar in his early teens in Iran and would end up playing little gigs in Tehran, only to move to Canada in 2010 and end up taking the stage with some very prominent Iranian artists over the years, including Siavash Ghomeshi and Kiosk. He studied visual effects for film and TV at Seneca College and has been working as a digital compositor in a number of well-known visual effects studios recently as well. Sara grew up with a burning interest in music, calligraphy, and theater. She started playing the piano in her early teens and began vocal training at the age of 18, got her BA in Persian literature in Iran, then moved to Canada in 2012. Sara studied theater production at Humber and started her career as a scenic painter, puppeteer, and puppet builder in different companies. Together, they formed a band in 2012 called Rhythm and Vibes that have recorded some songs that you just may have heard. And it's a pleasure to have the super siblings, Sara and Nima Ahmadieh, in the Roqe Studio today. Hello.
Hello.
Nice to have you guys here.
Thanks for having us
Thanks
here,
for
John.
having us.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And thanks for the great introduction. I didn't know I've done all this stuff.
Yeah, so many details.
You see, your sister should appreciate you. Look at all the things you've done, and you should appreciate
I
her.
almost forgot what I've done.
She's a big shot, yeah.
I'm so interested in how you guys have negotiated your sound over the years, because I know, Sara, you were a classical piano player, and you're a rock guy with all your tats and and all that. So how hard was it to find a middle ground when you first started playing music together?
In the beginning, it wasn't really easy because, like, Sara was still in Iran and I moved here, so the environment Sara was in was different from what I was in, and
Right, the middle ground was the Atlantic Ocean.
Exactly.
So, right.
Sara was kind of more involved with like all these alternative Persian bands in Iran, and I was still experiencing some, memories from back home and mixed with new memories from, West culture, and I was still into rock music in my head, but then after, like, in a few years, I was more interested in electronic music. But after Sara came here, we just, like, after a few years of not basically be in touch, not like in person, basically
2 years.
2 years, so yeah, we just realized that we have more in common after all these years.
The way you just described that, it sounded like she's like a cool hipster kid, and you're an old school rocker. Is that
somehow? Yeah. So I was actually
that's the shorthand.
Exactly.
Even though your age difference isn't that much.
Yeah, it's
right?
1 year and a half. Yeah. But I actually, welcomed Sara's energy into my music, and because I was like, this is what I'm missing right now, because she's more in touch with.
She makes you cool.
Exactly.
No.
That's why, like, sometimes some artists makes music over here, and then you're wondering why, like, people in Iran don't listen to it, because you're very separated from what is happening inside that country.
You did say something interesting that I want you to explain, where you said, I have my memories from Iran, and then my new memories here. What are you thinking of when you're saying that, memories?
Like, basically when I write down music, it all comes back to, like, what your input has been, basically. Sometimes it's the environment, sometimes it's the life events. So, like, the music that I used to write in Iran, it was kind of different because it was based on all the inputs from the society that I was having back then. And then when
what kind of music would you write in Iran?
It was more
metal.
Rough and metal, basically.
You were angry, kind of, or?
I think so, yeah. Deep down, when I go down, then I'm like, okay. When I go back, I'm like, yeah, that's what I was causing it. Like, even here, if you, like, in a car and listening to radio, sometimes it doesn't make sense if I listen to those kind of music in the car, because it doesn't match the vibe of the city,
Actually, I want to come back and talk to you about your influences, because it's interesting to me that in general that you were into metal and rock when you were in the Islamic Republic of Iran. I want to know how you found that stuff. But you guys are actually going to, we're excited about this because you're set up in the studio here. You've got your guitar. You're going to actually kick us off with a song. You're going to play a song for us. And this is your... tell us what song. What are you playing, Sara?
So it's called Seda Kon Mara, and I think it's the second song we wrote together. I wrote the lyrics, and yeah.
This would have been from you put out an EP in 2016, and this was on that. Was that the first record you put out?
I think the first,
the second
one, because we had another song. The first one was Roya Bazi, the first song we wrote together, and this one's the second one.
And this is a rhythm and vibes song, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you're 2/3 of rhythm and vibes,
exactly.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
So I think we've got, we can credibly establish. Hang on one second. Rob, can you fix the light behind there so that it's more red? Okay. All right. So take it away, guys. Yeah.
Ciao.
صدا کن مرا میون حجم تاریک این اتاق
صدا کن مرا که میگردم پی آن نگاه
بیا و بنشان مرا پنهان از همه دیده ها
بیا و خواب کن مرا بخوان در گوشم نغمه ها
از روزهای شیرین بی فکر و خیال از لبخندهایی که نمیشن تمام از روزهای شیرین بی فکر و خیال از لبخندهایی که نمیشن تمام بیا باش تو همیشه کنار من
که دنیا برقصه به این حال شاد من
بیا که بنشین لبخند رو لبهای من
انگار همه دنیا سودستای من
بگو از روزهای شیرین بی فکر و خیال از لبخندهایی که نمیشن تمام از روزهای شیرین بی فکر و خیال از لبخندهایی که نمیشن تمام
Beautiful. Live in the Roqe Studio. Playing the song Seda Kon Mano. That's Sara and Nima Ahmadieh. Also 2/3 of the band Rhythm and Vibes. That was fantastic.
Thank you. That was a short form.
Yeah.
I know what happened. you paled. It was so good.
This is the radio version.
I want the extended play. It's so nice to hear you guys. You know, there's a thing. I remember for years, you know, in the group I played in, there were 4 singers, and we were always trying to do 4-part harmony, and the people, and we always envied siblings because because the best, you know, the best thing you can do when you're trying to harmonize is to match each other's tones, and siblings have a natural ability to do that. So if it's the Bee Gees or the Beach Boys or the Pointer Sisters, they have that same tone because they come from the same genes, and and so they have this natural sound when they're singing together. It's interesting, you know, you're a boy and a girl, but you have that ability to match each other's tones. I mean, there's a familiarity with your voices sound similar, even though an octave apart, because you have a male voice.
Yeah. I have a very deep male voice, I guess. But no, I agree. Sometimes I try to record Sarah's voice as her own harmony because it sounds kind of better sometimes. But I can maybe touch some notes that she can because it goes very low and she can goes very high.
But the tone is similar.
Yeah,
between you guys,
because
it doesn't always work when a man and a woman are harmonizing. It doesn't always sound good.
Not really, no.
And it does in this case.
Yeah.
What's the story with that song, Sarah?
So this song was the second song that I wrote. I mean, I wrote the lyrics and Nima made the music, but it was kind of in my, I don't want to say dark days, but it was kind of when I came here, I was sad, and you know, I basically left a life back there, 23 years, and I was, just having a good time back there. It was 10 years ago. Just graduated from university, found new friends, really cool friends, hipster friends, and so I had a good time. And then
you left this hip life in Tehran to hang out with your uncool brother in Canada.
Culture shocked by her own brother.
Yeah, so it was just right after that, I came here and was just like, okay, what do I do with my life? And this is kind of like I'm saying, like, call me in between all these like darkness, like this is what I'm trying to say. And then just sit beside me and just be by my side. I say in the lyrics, and tell me about the good days that are coming. And so it's just me asking for the happiness and the kind of like come back to me, I guess. So yeah, it's for me it's an emotional, it has an emotional lyrics, and yeah, it's just
I noticed and I'm curious about the process, because I noticed in a few of your songs it says lyrics by Sara and music or arrangement by Nima. So with a song like that, does she come to you with the lyrics, or do you come to her with the chords, or like how did that
this
happen?
one I specifically remember.
You do?
Yeah, because I think
usually it starts with lyrics.
Yeah, and I was writing this, and I was kind of in between, and we were sitting together, and I told Nima and Siavash that I'm writing this. What do you think of this? They're like, oh, it's good. So they suggested words or sentences, and we just came up together with this.
What about the melody? How does it come about?
Sometimes it's very accidental, to be honest. Like you're just playing this and
we're jamming and
so you play that chord progression, and you guys just start singing the lyrics over top.
Yeah, especially when I think like when you play guitar or any other instrument, the type of songs you write down, it really depends on your muscle memory, like where your hands go on the instrument. Sometimes when I write down the music on piano, it's way different from guitar.
Interesting, right? Oh, yeah, for sure.
My hands are like doing something else, and it gives me more ideas. And maybe I can just write it down on guitar, and then like
a lot of times you can hear a song that's written on a piano versus a song that's written on a guitar.
Yeah,
you can just hear it. You can tell. Supertramp songs are written on piano, and AC/DC songs are written on guitar. You can just kind of tell,
Yeah, because some riffs you can tell that that's a guitar riff. Like you can't do that on piano. Like you can bend the notes.
But it's piano. A great melody. It's a very familiar, it's this melody that is very accessible. That song has always stuck in my head. You are both so creative and artistic, and it would be a logical leap to say this must be a family thing. Is it? I mean, how much of the creativity that you have was encouraged in you when you were kids growing up in the 90s and the early 2000s in Iran?
So you want me to say?
Go ahead, sure.
So we've grown up in an artistic family, and my grandfather was a painter, and he's also known as the father of animation of Iran.
Father of Iranian animation,
yeah. So
Esfandiar.
Esfandiar Ahmadieh. He basically created animation by himself. Like animation existed at the time. We were talking about like 60 years ago, but there wasn't any like social media or anything. So he saw these 8mm films, like negatives, and he bought them and brought them home. And just by looking at them, he realized, if he put these images beside each other, he can make the image move.
So, but he was in Tehran.
It was in Tehran,
and he was an artist. He could draw.
He was an artist, and he was a painter. And this animation part of his life was, I can say, like it was by accident, because he painted this image, I think from like Siatir or something. It was like a political event that a lot of people got killed in Zaman Shah, and he got arrested for that. And like Savak arrested him, and he was in prison.
He wasn't political. He was because he had this disability since he was born, that hearing disabilities.
Oh.
Yeah, so he wasn't really into like news and politics. He just saw this thing out there and he started painting, and then saw these two guards just showed up at his door. It was like, why did you
Do you know
paint
when would that have been? In the 70s or early 70s or something?
I think, yeah, it was early 70s.
This is like 60 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, early 70s.
Was he still around when you guys were kids? Did you get
Yeah,
some?
Yeah, he actually
10 years ago he passed away.
He wanted us to be in painting.
Really? So, and your parents as well? I mean, were they, this sounds very counterintuitive. I mean, you're lucky. So you didn't have the traditional pressure. We always talk about the pressure, be an engineer, be a doctor, go into sciences.
Yeah, not really.
No.
So my mother's side, like my grandfather from my mother's side, he used to like jam with his brothers, and but all the traditional music in Iran, like tar, setar. He used to play tombak. I actually have his tar right now. Like my mom just brought me his tar after all these years.
Nice.
He got it fixed. So yeah, we saw all that kind of like atmosphere and environment, and then back then we were like 1 year old, 2 years old, so we didn't realize that it's actually affecting us in future.
Right. Did you perform together as kids? Would you do like little things for the family, or were you? I mean,
did we?
Funny stuff. Yeah, we used to. It was really bad.
What are you not telling me? You're looking at each other and laughing.
No, we used to go to my grandma's house, and I was just like playing something weird, like random, and Sara was singing gibberish, like he couldn't even come up with the lyrics.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a surprise that you got along, and you sort of you would do sort of creative things in one form or another together, even as kids.
Yeah, my dad he used to be a drummer back home, and just like
what, like a drum kit drummer, or
he was in a band with his like cousins and brothers. Awesome. Yeah, okay. He actually played with satar back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But apparently they were playing in a different key, and satar was like just exploding. And yeah, so the first.
Well, he wasn't playing drums in a different key.
No. It was his cousin's fault. But yeah, so my dad used to play me all these songs when I was a kid. The first song that he played me was Neil Young, actually. Hey, hey, my. What was it called? Like,
yeah, it was Hey, hey, my.
Hey, hey, my. Okay, that's
rock and roll will never
exactly.
die.
So Dad, what is this?
There's a Canadian connection for you too.
Exactly.
You were an Iranian kid listening to a Canadian rocker.
Yeah,
and now you're a Canadian rocker who's of Iranian lineage.
Full circle.
But that answers the question of where you. That's how you discovered rock and metal. It was through your dad.
Exactly. Yeah, he actually wanted us to go to rock and metal music. He was very
your dad is my hero.
He's
what a
still
cool
very
Iranian
strict.
guy.
He's like, what happened to you guys? Like, I showed you guys all these rock music. You're listening to.
Why are you making such lame music? I need you to play something heavy.
Yeah.
So what was he into? I mean, satar is not that heavy rock, or
no. They used to get these gigs that was just for fun, but they used to cover Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple back then, and their singer actually he couldn't read in like English, so they would write the lyrics in Farsi, but English words. Imagine, so he could pronounce it.
Is your dad still around?
Oh yeah.
Where is he?
He just left 2 days ago to Iran again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So he's in Iran?
Yes.
Shai, get to Nima's dad, will you? You guys clear this. We don't need you guys. We don't need to talk to your dad.
He would love it to be here.
He's the best.
He's a good talker.
So it's interesting to me because there's this sort of clampdown. I mean, we've done our series on Pink Floyd and stuff. That the 1980s are a very difficult period for. I mean, your dad was probably hiding his drum kit, after the revolution, and so I'm so interested in how he was, how and when he was playing you music and how you were learning the stuff, and even where you were getting a rock guitar from. I guess by the 2000s that opens up, but in the 1990s it was still a difficult time, right?
Yeah. So I think he actually put away music after he came back from US. So he came back right after revolution happened, and imagine just going out of country before the revolution and coming back to whole another country. So I don't think he had any issue with the music back then, but after he came back, so he got married, and naturally the music faded away, I guess, because he became an engineer.
Oh, he became an engineer.
Yeah. Right. So it was a different.
Well, that's why
genre.
He's determined for you guys to not.
Yeah, he was like,
somebody needs to carry on the rock tradition in the family.
Exactly. Like he was like, okay, I want you to, learn music, but so I started with drums actually, with his drum.
Oh.
But then I was like, I need some melody. I'm not a rhythm guy. I have to be a bit in the front.
But Sara, it's interesting because with all this rock talk, I mean, you study classical piano, you study Persian literature, so you seem like you're more into you were more into sort of the classic arts.
Yes, and I loved it, but there's a but. I mean, I learned classical piano till age of 18, and there was this time that I got introduced to different genres of piano playing, I remember my friend brought this CD of Aziza Mustafazadeh, which is she's a Turkish piano player and a singer, Azeri, yes. And I was just fascinated. I was like, oh, so you can play, this kind of music with piano. There wasn't any social media at the time, like this. You just Google everything. So when I listened to that, I was actually listening to rock and metal music, but when I listened to that, I was like, okay, this is crazy. I want to do this. So that's when the classical side of me kind of I put it aside and tried to listen to different genres of piano and started singing. So that's about the classical part.
The influence of your father doesn't end at music, because when I asked you guys once before about why you came to Canada, it wasn't this story of I was dreaming of leaving Iran and it was our greatest wish. It was Dad made us come here. So your dad basically dropped you off here and said, "This is where you're gonna be."
Yeah, no, he was actually very doubtful about it. He was telling me that after he actually dropped us and left, he was like, did I do the right thing or did I make a mistake? Or because it wasn't by our choice, but I'm happy that he did it actually.
I fought him a lot, the first year I was like, why did you bring me here?
Because I mean, we hear a lot of, obviously we hear a lot of difficult things, news about what's happening in Iran, but there's a great, I mean, I see and hear, and there's this cool underground culture that happens there too, that I guess you were part of. I mean, you come, I always date it back to Who's Afraid of Persian Cats, that underground music scene that was happening, that's 2009. So you're there 2010, 2011, and you don't want to leave.
Yeah, exactly. And I started to make friends, I had musician friends, and I was just starting to get into the society and, just be with people. Because before that, I was just in university, just going to university, coming home, and that's a whole different story. But that was just a time that I was like, okay, now I can meet people. And I met a lot of people. I met people in theater and music. And I was just getting to know their culture. And, I went to underground concerts. But almost close to when I was leaving, I was supposed to sing in a concert with my piano teacher. He had a band, and he was like, "Oh, you want to sing in this band?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I was back vocal with 2 other girls. The concert got canceled, and we never did that concert. And that's the truth of what's happening in Iran, because women can sing, and that was the first thing that
women
I was
cannot sing.
Cannot sing. No.
Solo anyway. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. You can be back vocal, but even for us, for that concert, they canceled it because we had female singers.
So when your dad forces this migration to Canada, at first you're fighting it, you say, but you took some solace in the fact that Nima's here and you guys
exactly
of have each other then here, right? So this decision to play music together starting in 2012, how did that happen? What was the first move to kind of go, okay, we're in this new country together. Let's actually, make music or record or something.
It kind of goes back to because I started in Iran in that couple of months, and then I brought it with me here.
So Sara's music genre was getting closer to mine, and I was getting closer to her type of music somehow. So we met somewhere in between, basically. And I was playing with all these guys, and I was like, I want to make my own music, or I want to make a band with someone that I really, because band is like a family, you can't just meet someone out there and be like, do you want to be part of my band? So our relationship was kind of like that. So it was easy to form a band and come up with something that we both enjoy. But we started with jamming, and actually we found Siavash he's a family friend, but it was at a party. It was like, it sounds good. Why don't we start a band? Why can't we start writing it down music? Because we used to just play covers basically, and then we went to different music nights at the U of T or the supermarket in downtown Toronto, in Kensington. They had the open mics, and everyone liked it. It was like, this is really good. So that was the cue for us to we should start something basically.
Yeah, because everyone kind of complimented us. The first event we went was the U of T, and it was the first time ever we were performing together, and there was some mistakes obviously in it too.
Were you performing in Persian or in English?
Both.
English?
Yeah, we covered that song,
Adele
song, and then I
Skyfall from Adele.
So
wow, you went straight to the James Bond song. All right.
We dropped it to
right.
so many keys to be able to sing.
That's quite a song for you to sing. I'm assuming you were singing it.
And I don't know why we picked that song. I mean, it sounded good, I guess, because we got the first place.
It was like
it was a competition.
It was like.
So after that, I was like, we sound good, I guess, because you don't know until people tell you,
all right. Well, let me ask you a question that, basically I've been waiting to ask you this question. This is the everything's just been a warm up to this as far as I'm concerned, which is that you are siblings, and there are, as I mentioned earlier, famous bands that are comprised of siblings: the Beach Boys, the Bee Gees, the Jacksons. Billie Eilish these days plays with her brother. They write songs together. But it's really no easy chore, mixing family and business and occupation and creativity. And I actually did a survey of the whole Roqe team, and every one of us has had or currently has issues with siblings. It's just not easy, in my experience, you can communicate the kind of thing you can communicate in one glance to a family member, to a sibling, is something that no close friend or bandmate or whatever would ever be that intimate, would ever be that close to you. And that can lead to real sensitivity. So what is the magic of you guys seemingly being so good together?
I don't know. We used to fight a lot, when we were kids, and most of it was because we were living at our parents' house. So once you just see someone 24/7, I guess that clash happens. But I don't know, because Sara is a very easygoing girl, I guess.
Okay.
I'm more sensitive, I guess, but she's very supportive, of every decision I make, and I support her 100%. I think the clash sometimes happens when I was telling Sara last night, actually, because I was thinking about this at the same time. It was we should have something that we.
Why are we so good?
Why are we?
Damn it.
I remember I was mad at you, but I don't remember why. Yeah, sometimes.
No, I mean just to put a fine point on it. Sorry to cut you off, but you're not just in a band together. If anyone who watches looks at your social media or looks at your videos, you seem to. I mean, I say this sounds ridiculous, but you seem to actually really like each other. I mean, you really genuinely like spending time together, and it's no crime to say that's difficult for siblings. You know, you've got a lot of history. Things happen when you're kids and when you're growing up and you're teenagers that you have to work out in therapy over the years. You know, I mean, so to watch you guys, it's like, wow, these two have figured something out together because they really seem to enjoy being together.
Yeah, Sara is like a female version of me, basically. But smarter somehow. Sometimes.
No.
What do you think, Sara? How do you guys manage this?
I think, yes, we had a lot of issues when, Nima was in Iran and we were teenagers, but I think you left in 2010. So we were separate for 2 years almost, and I think that 2 years kind of was like a slap in the face for me. And I'm looking at the memories that I get on Facebook. I'm like, wow, I really missed him, and I think that kind of made this relationship stronger, and another thing is, I think, music. When I came here, we kind of right after I came here, we started just covering songs or playing music together, and I think that really helped with this bonding, because when you have a same purpose, and you fight for it, I think that brings you closer to each other, and
But yeah, like one thing to be more fair about this, not everything is like perfect all the time.
Yeah, of course.
So I get sometimes asked to play with these different bands, and sometimes it keeps me too busy.
Sometimes big names.
Yeah, and you kind of don't have time to spend on your own projects, especially with our own band, like with Sara. And I've noticed that Sara sometimes gets kind of sensitive about this topic, that like, what happened to our own band? Like, why don't you spend more time on
Is that true, Sara?
It's true, yeah. I mean, I'm trying not to be that sensitive, because like we talked about with Nima yesterday, I think what we have is special. Like Nima can have this sound with any other person or any other musician, and me too. It's just a mutual thing. So I think, sorry, but I have to
that's okay.
not be sensitive.
It's a very common.
She just gets hassoud.
Yeah, exactly.
Or jealous of you hanging out with other musicians.
I'm like, it's just business.
Are you protected? How much do you get involved in each other's lives? I mean, if Sara wants to date someone, do you be protective?
Okay.
That's most of the fights that we had back in Iran. And after I came here,
what were the fights?
More modern.
You were too protective.
Yeah. Like, I mean, you don't know why you're doing this stuff, but it's.
You went full Iranian male on.
I mean, yeah.
You can't date this guy. I know what he's like.
No, I mean, when you're a teenage boy in Iran, I guess, like especially the 80s boy in Iran, let's say, and you just grow up with all these like negative news around you, and they brainwash you in the school. It's not just your like sister. You're very protective about your whole family, especially the female ones. But then you grow up, and then especially when you come out of that bubble, and you look at it from outside, you're like, okay, that didn't make sense really, and that was most of our fights back then.
Yeah, but
it wasn't about music at all. I'm happy that music happened.
Yeah.
No, but right now we're
and Sara,
we're
what
good
you
friends.
Say? You were
I know everything about Nima. No, I mean,
well, you probably do. You learn things certainly
yes,
if you,
and
you know. Yeah.
I really like this. Like, I want him to come to me, you know, when he needs someone to talk to. You know, I try to be supportive of him, you know, and through this, you know, process, there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make too. It's not like, you know, just everything is gol bol bol and, you know. Well, yeah, I agree.
That's true. Yeah.
What's a sacrifice that comes to mind?
Like, you know, like if, you know, Nima is not available for me to, like as someone for me to talk to, or, you know, he's not there for a while, you know, I try to, like, this is one example, but I try not to get upset because I'm like, okay, he has stuff to do, like he has his own life. And I try to be understanding of his situation. So, like, that's, for me, that's a sacrifice. That's like, you know, putting my feelings aside and trying to understand, like, why he did this.
Sounds very adult. Sounds like you guys have a very, no, really, you have a very understanding, evolved relationship, and you communicate. And I'm jealous of this. This is amazing. Now, you, Sara, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about. You're a puppet maker.
I am.
You create puppets.
Yes.
I love that. I mean, I love everything about it. So, how did this? Is this the grandfather lineage playing its way into your hands, or?
For sure, yes, because he was a painter, but also he made a lot of, like, he did everything basically. Like in the house, we had these like couches he made puppets, he made like everything. So yeah, for sure, it's I've been inspired by him. But I didn't know I could do all this until I came here, because, you know, like in Iran, I was
puppet making isn't the profession.
No, I mean it is, but I was insisting of, like, you know, I have to go to this program and I have to study literature. I want to, you know, do this in Canada, and I studied that the Persian literature, and I never thought I could do this. You know, I never thought I had this ability to create or make things. So when
how do you find out? How does one find out that one is good at making
puppets?
I
think the environment helps a lot. You know, I went to college for theater production, and I was just fascinated because I was like, I have no idea about any of these courses, but I love them. You know, and like in Iran, I never knew, like, a girl can do carpentry, you know, a girl can do scenic paint or props. But here I was like, oh, I can't do this. I can't make this, you know. And so I studied that. And then after I got graduated, I got into mascot business. I started making mascots by, like, carving big giant heads. And that's how the puppet happened. And I did a couple of other things in between. I still do, but puppet is one of the things.
And Nima, you're involved in the digital animation side of kids programming.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about what you're doing, because I know you work on a prominent show too.
Yeah. I actually work at a animation studio in downtown Toronto. It's called Guru Animation. I do digital compositing, so it's basically you get all these renders and then you composite them together and set the mood, and, you know, basically make a very raw image into something presentable and, like, very highly produced image. And this was my passion, like, since I was a kid. Especially when I started, like, playing video games, I was like, you know, I love all these 3D characters. I want to, like, someday work on these. And, you know, in Iran, I was studying IT, and then I was, like, you know, always going to these, like, private classes, 3D animation, here, this, that, and, you know, until I came here, I was like, I have to go to this thing because I have nothing to lose here. I want to start fresh. So let's just go here to take this path.
But I have to say, it's pretty cool that you guys, came to Canada about a decade ago as being really young, and you are both working in the creative field.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually have jobs in the creative field. That's not easy these days to accomplish.
It wouldn't be possible if I was in Iran for sure. Like a third of my life I spent here. A third? Yeah, yes, a third. Yeah, a third. And everything I have, I actually owe to basically Canada, to my father,
your dad,
to my dad,
to your dad. So
and myself.
I'm so happy that you guys are playing in the studio here. Now, I know we're going to play one more song before I let you go. But before we do that, I thought I might ask you guys a little bit about your perspective on the state of Persian music. We've because your music, first of all, one of the things I'm attracted to in your music is it doesn't seem to fall into the current tropes of Persian music or that 6/8 diaspora pop, like the same thing we sort of hear over and over again, or even the kind of pop music that frankly sounds very similar to me. We did a recent series that we've started called The Plight of Persian Music, where we've talked about the dysfunctional and difficult nature of the Persian music business in Iran and outside of Iran for Iranian artists. As a general question, what are your thoughts on where things are at regarding making popular Persian music? Because it certainly isn't the easiest field to get into compared to other musical genres that are not Iranian.
Yeah, I think especially with Persian market, it's a bit tricky because, if you're producing music here as like an American artist or a Canadian artist who sings in English, so your basically market is very wide, and you have the chance to be heard, and and then you can tour, you can throw shows. But as someone who's producing music here and Persian music specifically, our challenge is you have this life that you have to take care, and you have to have a steady income. So that pushes you towards that type of music that makes more money. Sometimes you're not interested in that type.
And that's
music.
A narrower stream in Persian music. In other words, there's only a few genres in Persian music that make the money, right?
I mean, overseas, yeah. But if you're in Iran, I know, imagine 80 million people live there, and imagine if you have 1 million or 100,000 fan over there, they're all gonna show up to your concert, even if you're rock musicians, because we had some friends who traveled back home, and then they were like, I threw shows over there and it was sold out 3 nights back to back, and here they would sell tickets, maybe 100 tickets per night. So it kind of limits you with what genre you want to follow. But for us, because it's not the main source
but in Iran, don't you have to jump through all kinds of hoops to be able to do that live concert? You have to get it sanctioned, and you have to be the right kind of. I mean, I know that there are artists that have a big following in Iran, but they can't play gigs there. They can't sell records there. They don't get played on the radio there. Yeah, that's true. Dysfunctional, right?
Sara has a better information on this, I guess, because she knows more people in Iran.
I just don't have a good feeling about the music scene, especially the pop music scene in Iran, because of the fact that women can't sing. Mm-hmm. And you see all these festivals, and you see all these men just just taking picture and singing, and they have a show and all that, and you're just like, but this is not this is not insane. Fair, and this is so I just don't have a good feeling about this whole thing. Mm-hmm. And about the pop music too, I think it doesn't last long. You know, the songs that we hear nowadays, I'm not saying everything, because there are a lot of good artists too, you know, in Iran and outside of Iran, Persian artists. But they just, I think their songs, they go by one formula, you know. It's like a pop structure that they go by. I don't know, but
have you guys, I mean, playing sort of acoustic-ish rock, that indie rock, indie pop that you guys play is not exactly the mainstream, you know, Persian music that I hear on Radio Javan. So have you had conversations where you go, okay, well, maybe we should just make a song that sounds exactly like that cookie cutter shit so that we get played more? Or has somebody ever come to you and said, why don't we produce something like this? And you're nodding, yeah.
Yeah. We've had this conversation a lot. You know, actually, like, my dad was trying to, you know, push us through this, you know, because someone.
Your dad?
Your
dad was the Zeppelin guy.
No, he just wants us to be heard, you know, and
it's
like, I mean, if you do one song, like it's like a popular song, and you know, maybe if people know you, then you can do whatever you want, you know, but. I don't want that. I mean, I don't.
By the way, I don't think that's true, because then they come to the concert just wanting to hear that song.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're like, "What's the rest of this shit? This isn't what I came for."
Honestly, nowadays, like, the music industry is, I think it's been always like this, but it's kind of merged with the entertainment industry. So you see, some people are very like well known, but like their music is not really good. But then you go through their, you know, social media pages, and then you see like they have all these, you know, they post all their, you know, private lives and, you know, all this stuff that people want to like hear, or, you know.
I even had this conversation with Nima. I was like, you know, we should like film us doing something personal, and people, you know, will follow us. And then,
but you know,
like,
we're not that kind of person.
It's hard if you're not the guy. I faced the same thing.
Yeah,
I was like. I don't know if I have the, you know, desire to, at the end of the day, to be an influencer or something. You have to really want to live that life and be that person and expose yourself and all of that. And it feels like that just isn't who you guys are.
Not really.
That So what is the plan with Sara and Nima? What do you think the next step is? I know the song that you're going to play before we end off is Gharibe, which is a relatively recent song, right? It's from like last year or something.
So Gharibe, actually, this is our very recent project that we actually talked about how we can make it kind of like not sound pop, but something
more structural, I guess.
Like more into the, you know, top 10 genre, but at the same time something that we like it.
I'm excited that you're playing this song. Is it? Sorry, did you do the lyrics for this one as well?
I did, but we changed it. I think when Nima was arranging it, we changed it a little bit, and Nima had his input in it too. So the first verse I wrote, you know, and I think with the chorus, and then he wrote the second verse.
I was going through some stuff that I was like,
he was really emotional at the time.
I need to add a second verse to this.
You couldn't write your own song. You needed to change the second verse of Sara's song.
It needed a verse B. So
Gharibe's Stranger.
You know, it's just like we had a thing, and you know, you're not there anymore for me. You're like a stranger to me. And
exactly.
For I think same thing for you.
Yeah, Gharibe is like, you know, exactly like
you're not the same person
but
anymore.
After a long time, like spending time together, it feels like he or she's not the person you were with. So she becomes.
We were together for a while. Then my brother told me I can't see him anymore.
Sorry, that was a bad example.
I mean,
that he
that was one of the reasons.
It's actually for you.
All right, let's hear it. This is Sara and Nima Ahmadieh in the Roqe Studio performing live the song from last year that they from 2021, a song called Gharibe. Whenever you're ready.
سر توی زمستون سال پیش آسمون تیره و هوا بود گرگ و میش وعده هایی که دادی چه آسون بیقرارم کردی بیش از پیش واسد آسون بود از رفتن گفتن اینو از توی چشمات خوندم خیره بودم تو نگاه سردت اما جای دیگه ای بود افکارم غریبه منو میشناسی یا نه غریبه دیگه تو نیستی اون آدم غریبه منو میشناسی یا نه غریبه دیگه تو نیستی اون آدم از روزی که رفتی همش یادت با منه توی هر گوشه ی شهر با هم داریم خاطره روزایی که داشتیم دیگه تکرار نمیشن دارن جاشونو میدن به تنهایی و غم غریبه منو میشناسی یا نه غریبه دیگه تو نیستی اون آدم غریبه منو میشناسی یا نه غریبه دیگه تو نیستی اون آدم
Nicely done. Live in the Roqe Studio, Sara and Nima Ahmadieh and the song Qaribeh. That was lovely. Thank you. Thank you guys so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't wait for the new material. I can't wait to, now that things are reopening, to see you guys perform live again, and I hope you come back.
Thanks, Jian
so
John.
much.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
having
us.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I do hope you work out all the problems you have between that we've you didn't have before this interview, but apparently now we've identified all the issues between you as siblings.
I have your boyfriend's address. I'm kidding.
The great
We're all
Sara
friends.
and Nima Ahmadieh, also Rhythm and Vibes. Check them out in that incarnation. We'll make sure we put their Instagram handles and their ways to find them at the bottom of this, whatever you're listening on, whatever platform. Nice to have you guys here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right. Sara and Nima have left, temporarily left the studio. And the fabulous Keon is back in here, and Captain Reza. That was pretty nice listening to them play in here.
That was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
So good.
It was. I love her voice.
I love her voice too.
Beautiful.
So amazing.
I'm just more impressed by the fact that they can actually work together.
I know.
I'm just
I know.
imagining me
I
and
was
my brothers.
literally thinking of all of us, every single one of us and our siblings.
None of us can work with our
That's
siblings. We all have a
amazing.
thing. No, but you said it. Billie Eilish does it. He doesn't. She does it amazingly.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a talent in and of itself.
I did an amazing job with
You
my
did
brother.
actually. You
That's
did.
right.
Dang show. Holy, we actually forgot, man. Genuine example.
But you guys have had your ups and downs.
Of course you have.
Yes.
your ups and
These
downs.
guys don't sound like they have any of that.
Yeah.
They're you know.
If you dig deep enough, maybe.
I mean, Shaya got the inside scoop, really. He's the one who jams with them, right? There we go.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, really nice. And I thought it was really refreshing to me to hear about a Persian parent who was encouraging them to go into he sounds awesome. I really do want to interview their dad, the drummer.
Me too. I want to hear about him and also their grandfather, who is the father of animation in Iran. It's an amazing artistic family.
Yeah.
It runs in the.
It makes sense that they're puppet makers and
yes.
animators and
Good
musicians.
for them. And the parents are supportive. What a fresh of breath air.
Not just a fresh of breath air.
Breath
yeah,
of fresh.
Breath of fresh.
Still,
Fresh of breath air.
still the boy from Shiraz. Yeah.
There we go.
Fresh of breath air.
It is a fresh of breath air. Sorry? I need some payment.
Fresh of breath air. That's good.
Speaking of their parent, I mean, Siavash's father also, he's fascinating. Like the guy.
Siavash from Rhythm and Vibes.
Yeah.
Siavash Alamouti.
Oh, Siavash.
Siavash Alamouti.
That's Nima from Rhythm and Vibes, Jian.
Well, no, because Rhythm and Vibes, I thought Rhythm and Vibes, the third member is Siavash.
Siavash, correct.
So I wouldn't know which Siavash.
Sorry,
We were talking about Rhythm and Vibes.
I thought it's because you just did a back-to-back interview.
Yeah.
No, Siavash Alamouti, that especially the part that his father said, my job is to bring water to people. You know, it's really interesting.
Great story.
The interview with Siavash.
What's
wrong with me
Dude,
today? I can't say
you need a
anything right.
coffee. You need some.
And I just had coffee. Well, I had a lot pistachio
just
latte.
You
Jian,
are
by the
a
way.
fresh of breath air.
I am a.
What did you want to say about Siavash?
Siavash Alamouti, Mr. Alamouti. One thing that he said that was very interesting, and Afshin Naghuni in England, when we met with them, the great Persian artist, talked about it as well, is learning the rules like a pro so that you can break them, actually. It's crucial to be in the creative world, to be a creative artist.
The idea that you're more likely to be an innovator if you're younger because because it's easier to undo what you've been told.
You're not as conditioned, I guess.
It's kind of
incredible.
It's kind of devastating.
Yeah.
You know,
so?
it's like.
What do you mean?
Well, it's just that it's just the more you know, the more you grow and know, the more you become set in a certain set of beliefs about yourself, the world, whatever, and it's harder to disrupt that. It's harder to undo that, you know, in terms of actually coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, but he was also saying that the newer generation is less so conditioned than the older generation, which I.
But the
his
Wasn't
point.
he saying that?
Well, no, his point was that if you are younger, you are just less conditioned to live by the rules of the previous generation. You know, so he's saying this as a guy in his 50s or whatever. He's saying like a younger person is more likely to create the next new thing, is likely to be the Mark Zuckerberg because they have a easier facility for thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
And that challenge is the marriage of the two, right? To be able to and that's what we were saying. That is like guiding people, like young people, if they're making mistakes, and sometimes like he brings his guards down and accepts that he's wrong, and if there is a better idea. But yeah, this is quite fascinating. Like really fascinating.
Thanks everybody. Thanks Kianju, and thank you Reza. Thank you Shaya. That's full time for Roqe for today. For all things Roqe related, you can go to our website, our new updated website, roqemedia.com, where you can scroll through all of our episodes, all of our Roqe moments, funnies, different programs, contemporary history of Iran, etc., etc. roqemedia.com. Thanks to the amazing team who put this show together each week. Savi Roham, talented Anahita, Panta the artist, the fabulous Keon, Super Parisa, Ahai Merdad, Captain Reza, and Ruby Shaya. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and sharing our content. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and you can do that on all of our platforms. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi, and in the meantime, as ever, what do we say, Shaya?
Oh.
You want to take it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Ready?
As ever, میزون باشین.